Nothing changes in our life until we change. And change is the most constant thing in the universe. And you could either wait for the crisis, the trauma, the diagnosis to change. When you're at your lowest level, you can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. Either way, the model is that when you change, your life changes. If you can invest a little time in your life in asking yourself the important question, who do I want to be in my life? How do I want to live my life? What do I want in my life? And instead of turning on your cell phone and getting distracted, discipline yourself to take an hour to answer those questions. Write it down, review it, change it, get very clear on it, and spend a certain amount of time nurturing whatever that dream is. Think of the people in your life that you admire and start behaving differently. Start making different choices. Think about the choices that they may make and how you may want to make those choices. And then at a certain level, you got to trust the unknown. Well, you have one of two choices: to disbelieve or to believe. That's really it. That's it. If you choose to be a chronic disbeliever, then you'll find reasons in your life to reaffirm that disbelief. A person may say, I want to be in a loving relationship, but really they really want to sabotage their life in some way, right? The person who believes in a possibility has to believe in themselves. And when you believe in yourself, you believe in possibility. You can't have one without the other. The challenge is that your belief in yourself must be earned. Nobody's going to do that for you. And that's what we discovered. Be that person that you want to be. Now, you said earlier, well, many people don't know who they want to be. There's a trade. And the trade is you got to come up against the person you no longer want to be. And you got to really look. And it comes up very naturally and very automatically. And a lot of people say, I wanted to leave after the first day. Like, it was way too much. I want three things from you. Courage to feel any emotion. Love, that means it's going to reset the baseline for the trauma. You got to be able to love. And wisdom. The memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. That's what you're going to get out of this. And you can't give up. You go all in, sooner or later, we have, again, all shapes, all sizes, all cultures, all races, all pasts, everybody's able to do it. I think that a lot of people, they have a lot of strong emotions that are on the surface, and they have some strong emotions that are buried in there, right? And I would never say to a person to suppress their emotion. Listen, we all react. But the question is, how long? How long are you going to react? Really, that's the question. Look at a kid, right? The child just has a reaction, 10 minutes, they're over it, and they're back, And I think the greatest thing we can teach children is that kind of emotional intelligence to kind of shorten their emotional responses. I never say to a person, don't react. I will say to them, how long are you going to react for? Because if you have an event in your life that creates an emotion and you don't regulate that emotion, it lasts for hours or days. That's called a mood. That's one long emotional reaction. You say to the person, why are you in a mood? I'm in a mood because of this thing that happened to me 7 days ago. If they keep the same emotional reaction going on for months, weeks to months, that's called a temperament. The person just has an angry temperament. Why are you angry? I had this event happen to me, 9 months ago. It goes on for years on end. That's a personality trait. That personality trait is really based on an experience or series of experiences that create that emotion, right? And then a person just memorizes their emotion. They're having one long emotional reaction. They're looking for a reason to be angry. They're looking, not consciously, they're looking for a reason to judge, right? Because it reaffirms their belief in themselves and how they believe, what they believe about life. Dedicate a certain amount of time to investing in yourself and believing in yourself and be defined by that vision of your future instead of the memories of the past, and make time to tell the story of your future instead of the story of your past, and see where that leads you. One coincidence, one synchronicity, one opportunity is going to prove to you that you're the creator of your life. And it's common, but what we discovered with people that do this, when we look at their brains in real time, is that when we analyze our life like that and we ruminate, we tend to make our brain worse. In other words, by doing that and overthinking and overanalyzing, you're narrowing your focus on something. And you're doing that because the hormones of stress, right? The chemicals of stress are arousing your brain to live in survival and say, what if I lose everything that I have? When you're thinking within that emotion, you're actually causing your brain to experience more of those emotions. So the point is that none of that is good for you. In fact, you're actually turning on the stress response just by thought alone. And those chemicals of stress become addictive. Not knowing this, many people don't know this, but they're doing this just for some rush of adrenaline. And you can do that for hours, because when you're in stress and you're in survival, you actually have to narrow your focus on the cause. And people become over-focused, and they overanalyze themselves and they overanalyze their lives, and they make their brain worse. Even when they have everything that they want, the big fear is, what if I lose it, right? Yeah. So the fear then is the issue, right? You gotta face off with that fear, and you gotta make sure that that fear cannot influence your life in any way. And that's the thing, the emotion that you have to change. For most people, it's a scary place, but the unknown never lets us down, especially if we have to believe in ourselves. So I don't think anybody is so special to be excluded from this. You can't tell me you're too old to do this work. I've seen our elders with beautiful brain scans and beautiful heart scans, beautiful biological changes. You can't tell me you're too sick to do this work. I've seen really sick people heal from all kinds of conditions. You can't tell me you're too broke. I've seen people manifest all kinds of wealth in their life. You can't tell me that you never meditated before. I've seen people that never meditated before have beautiful changes in their biology and in their life. And you can't even say I've had a miserable past. My life is falling apart and it'll never ever work, because I've seen people come from really, really horrific paths and live a completely different life. So try it out. Try it out. In the habit of picking up your cell phone every 5 minutes and scrolling through it, and you're in a meditation, or you're busy and you got a lot of things to do, you're sitting in the meditation, you want to get up and you want to go and do something, you notice your body doing that. Most people say, oh, I can't meditate, I'm just going to quit. If you really want it, if you really want change, you got to execute a will that's greater than the program. You got to bring the body back out of that predictable future into the present moment. And like an unbridled stallion, it'll buck and kick. It'll do everything it can. You just keep bringing it back to the present moment. Sooner or later, it's going to surrender to a new mind. And now the person's going to liberate energy, because the present moment is the unknown. Either you believe or you don't believe. The person who says, I realized that I believed that it worked for everybody else, but I didn't know if it would work for me. I have to prove to myself that it works for me. The majority of those people never missed a day in their meditation, because if they missed a day, they knew that they weren't believing that they were the creator of their life. Their standard was super high. They didn't go 50% in, 60% in. I'll check to see if it worked. It was no longer about, listen closely, it was no longer about results in their life. It was 100% about effort. It was all effort. They came up against their shadow self. They came up against their disbelief. They came up against their pain. They came up against their fear. They came up against not feeling well, feeling sick. They came up against their self-doubt. They came up with the fact that they didn't have enough time. But guess what? They did their meditation anyway. and they overcame their fear. They overcame their self-doubt. They overcame their disbelief. They overcame, their pain. They overcame their body. They started surrendering to love instead of fear. And their belief in themselves was earned. It was the overcoming, showing up even when they doubted, even when they disbelieved, they showed up anyway. The familiar past of feeling certain emotions and certain memories, that's the known. Living in a predictable future, where you're always busy, you got things to do and people to see and places to go, that's the predictable future. If you can predict it, it's known, right? So if you can settle into the present moment and teach the body to relax into the unknown without it being a scary place, when you can relax into the unknown like that, the body finally surrenders and it's free. Now the person's ready to create something new. Now, it just takes a little bit of understanding. It takes a little bit of practice. Once again, you give numerous times to practice it. It gets easier and easier and easier. And usually by the third day of the event, people sit for, they don't even know how long. They forget that their body no longer bothers them. It's just like, they've just trained it, right? And so the cool part is when they go into their life and they're with their parents or with their siblings and they're smiling and they're present and they really don't have a conversation. They're just really happy to see them. The veil is gone. They're way more present. That's what the work is for. And the only way, as I said, you can believe in that future is to transform those limited emotions into elevated emotions. The person has to find something in them where they could feel the emotion of gratitude and fall in love with the idea of that they could heal. And it's that thought and that feeling, that image and that emotion, that stimulus and response that can condition their body into the emotion and the mind of their future. And they get up and they believe more in their future than when they started. Take the time, and if you only have 20 minutes or 30 minutes, sit down for 20 or 30 minutes and learn the information and start somewhere. But I think just knowledge really is the most important thing, and it's the basis. So make the time to learn. Like when we stop learning and start feeling, we're headed for a genetic destiny, right? So it's important for us to go, okay, this makes sense to me, and it may not make sense to everybody, but if it resonates with a person and other people are doing it, why can't I do it, right? That's the main question. So I think, exposing yourself to the information and taking the time to invest a little bit of your energy into it and then practice it. And the practice is the fun part, but don't do the practice without understanding why you're doing it or what you're doing.